Today, we take a look at the first episode of the classic crime series Miami Vice, which was not only a great TV show, but one that changed the style, tone, and cinematic language of how TV would be made from that point on.
Sonny Crockett and Ricardo Tubbs, Miami Vice.
Freeze! Miami Vice!
The show was created by Anthony Yerkovich, a writer for Hill Street Blues, whose idea for a series named Gold Coast proved to be just the ticket for NBC. It was executive produced by iconic filmmaker Michael Mann, who had cut his teeth writing for TV Starsky & Hutch a decade earlier, and Vice played a big part in the rise of Mann's career, and much of the show's style is credited to Michael Mann's innovative thinking and modern movie-making techniques.
So this ghost you've been chasing for 2 months, this Colombian drug king, what makes you so sure he was behind this?
All I know is, every time I've gotten within 20 blocks of this Colombian, I've had the pavement pulled right out from under me.
Hey, no offense, but when it comes to security leaks, this town of yours ain't exactly Pentagon South.
Wait a minute. Are you implying that I've got a bad cop in my department?
Fans of Michael Mann's work will know that stylistically, he stamped his trademark 80s look on the show, which he developed in his crime classic Thief in 1981. And his stylistic approach to TV definitely rubbed off on Miami Vice and played a huge role in its massive success.
120,000. You got the party favors?
Got 3 keys in the book.
Miami Vice also played a huge role in revitalizing the city of Miami, portraying it as a vibrant yet dangerous metropolis, and contributing to the region's appeal as a tourist destination that still, of course, exists today.
Who took the keys out of that monster?
Come on, Scott. Who do you think you're dealing with here? A little early, aren't you, airheads?
And of course, a lot of the success comes from the gritty portrayal of Miami itself. Miami gives the show a look like nothing else. Before this show, Miami was considered a pretty troubled old folks resort, with crocodiles and questionable drug busts in the Florida Keys. But Miami Vice made the city one of the hottest places to be in the 1980s. The popularity of Miami Vice turned the place into a hotspot for tourists, celebrities, and of course, filmmakers.
I mean, who knows who this guy's working for? DEA, IRS, state, county? Never trust anyone in this business. Read it.
New York.
2 weeks. 2 weeks of legwork I put in on this bust, and 3/4 of the dealers turn out to be cops.
Tubbs is here on priority clearance per direct request of the NYPD. Interagency memo, Crockett.
You ever hear of a local dealer named Calderon? About 4 weeks ago, one of our detectives set himself up in a meet with Calderon and a New York pusher named Tooney. The bus went sour. Our man was shot to death. But he took Tooney with him, and Calderon got away.
The debut episode of Miami Vice was Brother's Keeper, and it aired in 1984 and was a groundbreaking piece of television that revolutionized the way we perceive crime dramas.
The golden age of TV.
We meet New York City detective Ricardo Tubbs, played by Philip Michael Thomas, who is on a quest for vengeance after the murder of his brother by a Colombian drug lord named Calderon. His search brings him to Miami, where he will meet Detective Sonny Crockett, who is hot on Calderon's tail while working undercover doing drug busts. Due to a leak of information coming from inside the Miami department, the two are reluctantly partnered together by Crockett's boss, Lieutenant Rodriguez.
Instead of beating up on each other, why don't you guys consider working together?
You might have commendations up the yin-yang in the Bronx or New York or wherever the hell it is you're from. But this is Miami, pal. where you can't even tell the players without a program. Down here, you're just another amateur.
Raphael was the best. There's the reason why I became a cop.
The biggest score of my entire godforsaken career, and I teamed up with some outlaw New York street cop out on a hit mission.
It's called justice, Crockett.
It's called vengeance, my friend, plain and simple. Because when it gets personal, it gets messy. And when it gets messy, the wrong people get killed. Comprende? Eddie Rivera got killed today. Eddie? No!
Despite being written by Yerkovich, many of Mann's preconceptions bled into the script. From the detail-heavy procedural aspects to the nature of identity, both Crockett and Tubbs have to assume other identities in their line of work, and the show will regularly test their abilities to keep their private and professional lives separate. This is well summed up in the pilot by Crockett's ex-wife Caroline, with a line that seems pure Michael Mann.
You're all players, Sonny. You get high on the action.
Well, you know, for me, the action is the juice.
This grappling with identity makes it all the way to seasons 4 and 5, in which an amnesiac Crockett is under the belief he is actually his cartel alter ego, Sonny Burnett, a role we'd only seen in brief, performative flashes from the pilot onwards.
You ever forget who you are?
Forget who I am? Darling, sometimes I remember who I am.
As mentioned, one of the key things to the show's success was the look, the editing, and the cinematography that worked hard to create a filmic feel to the series. Executive producer Mann championed the use of handheld cameras, rapid editing, and the evocative use of music that helped make the show a pop culture phenomenon. The pilot episode also introduced the MTV-style editing and storytelling that became a trademark of Miami Vice, which of course set the show apart from the older style shows like The Streets of San Francisco, which often look very much like a TV production, using obvious sets and TV lighting.
I don't know how this is going to work, Tubbs. I mean, you're not exactly up my alley, style and persona-wise. Heaven knows I'm no box of candy. But all things considered, I think we might have to consider some sort of temporary working relationship.
Jodie Tillen, the fantastic costume designer, who Mann brought in having previously worked with her on The Armani-Clad Thief in 1981, said of the look of the show that everything was considered. It's Miami, it's aqua, and it's white, and it's pastel colours. And if they were to blend in, you would have to embrace those colours and have them be a part of that landscape. Mann also declared that the show should feature no earth tones and no harsh reds in the sets. And this was reflected in the locations, the style of the costumes, and the stylistic decisions became a huge part of the show's production each week. Tillen continued that every show had a colour theme. There were no accidents. There was never a situation when an actor walked in front of a wall in a certain outfit where the colour on that wall wasn't considered. She said that Mann directed that he wanted the clothes to be another character in the show, and he wanted the undercover cops to look like drug dealers who spend their money on women, cars, and clothes. Amazingly, the show boasted a $100,000 budget for costumes each episode, and Tillen said this had never been done before on television.
James Sonny Crockett.
Very good, Tubbs. Next week we'll work on your name.
University of Florida. All-American wide receiver number 88. Am I right or what?
That was a long time ago.
Mann said on producing the show that we are making a movie, that's the attitude. We're making it in a little over 7 days for $1 million. It's fast and furious, and the pace is addictive. I also think that another of the great things is that the show was open casting for actors local to Miami, and the different mix of cultures works great in giving the show a reality that would be missing if it had been cast with Hollywood day players, as most shows of the day were. However, Miami Vice is well known for the staggering list of guest stars who will become major stars after the series.
Miami Vice. You're a cop?
And of course we have to talk about the role music played in the show. Yerkovich said on the music that playing the right music with cinematic images allows you to accomplish a lot more than without it, and that Miami Vice was well ahead of the curve. He also said that the show was definitely inspired by MTV, and how they revolutionized the music video to tell stories through music. He continued that the music was a tool which we used to tell the story. Music that was played on MTV in heavy rotation also very often made it onto the show to help modernize the series. That's another thing that executive producer Michael Mann brought to the show. And then later, in seasons 2, labels began calling the show's producers direct in order to get new bands onto the show to reach its massive audiences. Jan Hammer, who created the now iconic opening titles and Crockett's theme music, was approached by the producers to compile a soundtrack album which, when released, held the #1 spot for over 12 weeks on the Billboard chart. The title theme also topped the charts, and 40 years later, no other TV theme has managed to do it. But Hammer's accomplishments were much more than just creating some catchy themes. He had to create a new 30-minute soundtrack for each episode of the show. Hammer's process was that each week he would watch the latest episode and had only 4 days to essentially create a new album of music. An amazing talent that of course went on to influence the scores of pretty much all television shows that followed.
Hey, what have we here? It's a phone book. No names, only numbers.
I have Ma Bell do a back trace. You got the name trace yet on those phone numbers we found in Leon's apartment?
Should have in about an hour for you, Sonny.
Wheeler's the leak. How much to buy you, Scotty?
$70 grand. Six months ago, a guy comes up to me outside of a club in Little Havana, hands me a suitcase. Says compliments of Mr. Calderon. Nothing else.
The first episode is notable for featuring the iconic song In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins, and the whole montage sequence featuring Crockett's signature car, the Ferrari Daytona Spider, driving around the city at night looked amazing. And it was the movie-worthy cinematography in the scene that was used to set the cinematic tone for the rest of the series. Legend has it that the Daytona used in the pilot episode is the only time that the actual Daytona was used, as some damage was caused to the car on set and the owner refused to rent the car out to the production again. So this may ruin a few of the myths, but the iconic car used in the first 2 seasons was actually 2 replicas built cheaper on the frames of a 1976 Corvette. One of the most heartbreaking episodes of the show features Crockett's beloved car getting hit with a rocket by the one and only great actor Jeff Fahey and exploding which is one of the most emotional scenes ever to adorn the series. For me, as a kid watching, that was almost like a main character in the show being killed off. And of course, Crockett's face is priceless.
The whole sequence, and I think the signature sequence in the pilot, which is the In the Air Tonight, the Phil Collins song, which is a no dialogue, all images and music sequence. You know, I invented that. It wasn't in the script. I thought that there was a moment that I missed at a certain point in that story where Sonny Crockett had to hit rock bottom and had to figure out again. He had lost a sense of who he was and who to trust, and he had to sort of touch reality again before he could move forward in the story. So I really invented that whole sequence, and I thought he should go to a phone in a phone booth and call his ex-wife and just ask her if what we had was real, if it was real.
Yeah, it was. You bet it was.
If she said yes, he would have something that he could hang on to, because he had lost his best friend and partner. And we hung a sign, the costume designer, I think, was Lynn Bernay, and we just made a sign that said Bernay's or Bernay's Cafe, I can't remember what it said, in the frame. So we were just creating reality out of just little pieces, where the car would pull up and he'd just stop and he got on the phone and he called her, got back in the car, and they took off now to go and finish the story.
They changed the game plan on us, Scott. It's still going down tonight.
They're running a sports fishing boat out of Keys Marina.
Miami Vice, drop them.
This was something that appealed to me because of the possibilities of style and cinema that I thought I could bring to it. You know, proved to be certainly one of the highlights of my career, and I think one of the highlights, with modesty to myself, but in terms of the show itself and television history. And when I came into the show, there was this notion of MTV Cops, but it wasn't really on the page, MTV Cops. I mean, they were guys who were, you know, undercover drug dealers, and there was a notion of, you know, having access to more high style. That's what that show did best, which is to tell story with music and images with as little dialogue as possible.
I'm sorry. It's not your fault, man.
You were mesmerized by it. You were hypnotized by it. It somehow caught you in a way that other television wasn't doing it. And that's what I wanted to do with that show, and what they continued, I think, to do.
The memory of Brother's Keeper would linger as the series progressed. The Calderone arc continued in various forms, and its tendrils made it as far as season 3. It would also lead to a big change in casting. After being placed on a hit list by Calderone, Lieutenant Rodriguez pays the ultimate price when saving Sonny's life.
Crockett!
As the story goes, actor Gregory Sierra didn't like living in Miami, but his replacement was different and unique. And you have to wonder, did Mann desire this change in direction all along? From the moment he wanders into the OCB, Edward James Olmos completely rules.
I'm Lieutenant Castillo, your new boss. Can someone tell me where my office is?
In the corner.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Castillo. Sonny Crockett.
Hi, Jason. Hey, did you file a report on the incident that happened this morning?
No, not yet. Charming.
Bucking the trend of so many angry police chiefs, including Rodriguez, almost adds the final piece of the awesomeness to the Miami Vice lineup.
Detective Crockett was observed by myself and 2 Miami Metro officers receiving $8,000 from a known racketeer. Why don't you just hang it up and become a security guard, huh?
Schroeder,
Yes, Lieutenant.
who do you think you are to walk into my office and mouth out to one of my detectives? I went over Crockett's file, given his arrest record, commendations, and the interest he shows during an investigation. I'd say either you've been had, or you're a complete idiot for believing the charges against him.
Plenty of dirty cops got squeaky clean histories that don't mean anything.
One thing it does mean is that he doesn't have to walk around here being harassed by you. You're done with the files. Get out.
Thank you.
Brothers Keeper, the pilot episode, helped set the high watermark for TV series such as NYPD Blue, Law and Order, and The Sopranos, as well as pretty much all other crime procedural TV shows in the 90s, which would follow in its wake. And of course, over the 5-season run, Crockett and Tubbs will become 2 of the bestest buddies and 2 of the coolest cops to ever grace the small screen.
Hey, Tubbs. You ever consider a career in Southern law enforcement? Maybe. Maybe.
The truth is, I'm a junkie myself. I'm hooked on the action.
I know that there are certain procedures that have to be followed and that what we're dealing with here is an entrenched bureaucracy. But it has been 1 month since the Daytona bit the dust. Now, I'm trying to maintain a departmentally approved cover here, and if I keep showing up for 6-figure drug deals looking like Little Abner, it ain't gonna cut it.
Something back.
What?
Well, you just gotta learn to go with the heat, Rico. It's just like life. Just gotta keep telling yourself, no matter how hot it gets, sooner or later there's a cool breeze coming in.
The influence of Brothers Keeper and Miami Vice as a whole cannot be overstated. The show was a cultural phenomenon influencing fashion, music, and popular culture throughout the whole 1980s. Its combination of sleek fashion, iconic music, compelling storytelling, and especially the friendship between Crockett and Tubbs captivated audiences and set a new standard for TV cop shows and dramas. The first season of Miami Vice was nominated for 15 Emmys. Its time slot on Friday night had most of the population tuning in each week, and viewing figures went through the roof. Anthony Yerkovich created a classic show and concept, and Michael Mann helped create a cultural phenomenon with his bold sense of style and work ethic that was to shoot TV like $1 million movie. And together, they created one of the most successful and influential cop shows of the 1980s. And it all began on a cold street in New York City. Who knew? Thanks for watching. If you would like to hear more from us on Miami Vice and other pop culture shows, please remember to like and subscribe and leave your comments below. I've been John Renney from Boneyard Cinema, and thanks for tuning in to Squabble Box, your home for entertainment under attack. I'll see you next time.
I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won. Breaking rocks in the hot sun. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won. Ow!